Welcome to a new episode of the Animal Liberation Hour, where we seek insight from animal rights and liberation activists around the world so that we can think, reflect, learn, and be inspired together. My name is Shreya, and this is the Animal Liberation Hour. I'm so excited to be chatting with my good friend, Destiny DeJesus, a trailblazer in the world of plant-based living and community organizing in Dallas, Texas. Imagine leaving the bustling streets of the Bronx in New York for the wide open spaces of Dallas, Texas. That's exactly what Destiny did in 2016, where she was seeking a more affordable life away from the skyrocketing costs of New York City. But little did she know that this move would spark a passion that would change not just her life, but the lives of countless others. In Dallas, Destiny found her true calling. She embraced veganism and discovered a knack for bringing people together around plant-based eating. Now, as the founder of Texas Eats Green, she is on a mission to bring more vegan options to restaurants in BIPOC communities across Dallas and San Antonio. But that's not all. Through her platform, Eat Your Destiny, Destiny is showing people how to go vegan without breaking the bank. She is all about making plant-based living accessible and affordable to everyone, no matter their budget or their neighborhood. From revealing hidden vegan gems in local grocery stores to tapping into community resources like food pantries, Destiny is a master at making the most of what's available. And let me tell you, her creative cooking skills will have you whipping up delicious meals with just a handful of ingredients. But Destiny's impact goes beyond the kitchen. As a community organizer, she's creating safe spaces for BIPOC folks to share their experiences in the vegan movement. Her events focus on critical issues like food justice, sustainability, and the power of plant-based living. So get ready, listeners, because we're about to hear from someone who's not just changing the way we eat, but how we think about food, community, and social justice. This podcast is brought to you by Animal Activism Mentorship. AAM's mission is to grow and strengthen the animal rights movement by providing a space for activists to have access to a community and various educational resources. From one-on-one mentorship to free workshops and trainings to this podcast, AAM aims to empower humans to take action for the animals so that we can create a kind, just, and equitable world for all creatures. For more information, visit animalactivismmentorship.com or our link tree, which you can find in the show notes. There, you can sign up for a free mentor, keep up with all things AAM, and donate so that we can continue this important work for the animals. Without any further ado, please welcome Destiny DeJesus. Well, welcome to the Animal Liberation Hour, Destiny. I'm so excited to chat with a good friend.
Yay! Yes, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been, following the work that you do a lot on social media, learning about, your journey into going plant-based and then eventually resonating with the vegan message. So let's just dive into that first. What is your story and how has that, shaped the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I started my plant-based journey in 2018, and it really just started because I had acne, severe cystic acne, and I was looking for ways to clear it up. And I started doing research about dairy and realized that dairy is just so harmful to the body. It's very inflammatory, it's not good for us. We're not meant to be consuming dairy. And so that's really where my plant-based journey started, because I started to eliminate dairy, and then after that, started eliminating chicken and fish and all the other animals and animal byproducts from my diet. And yeah, I was very much into the food aspect of I guess veganism, but then going being in this community, it just kind of opened doors into what actually being vegan is. And it's not just about what you're eating, it's more about like what you're putting in your body, the activities that you're doing, the people that you surround yourself with, just caring about other sentient beings. And yeah, that's kind of like how I started. So though I started for like some superficial reason, I'm here and I'm glad
Yeah.
that it happened.
Absolutely. And so are we. Like, and I think there's something to be said about how that factors into how you go about with your own messaging, like um and it's hard once you get into, oh, now you're vegan and you're doing all of this work, and you also have that message of, oh, you have to meet people where they are, and then you're kind of balancing two things because you know that the meeting people where they are is what worked for you, but at the same time, now that you are on, on this side of the equation, you're like, but there's that urgency to it as well. It's like, how many people are we gonna have to have them take their time? And it is a challenge. So how do you grapple with that?
Yeah, I feel like like most people when I first got into eating plants and learning more about like what veganism actually was, I was so excited to like tell everybody and like
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to go vegan. I wanted everybody to like care about animals and eat food that was good for their bodies. And it took me a little bit of time to realize like, yeah, you have to meet people where they're at. Not everybody is on the same journey and same path as you. And like you said, like luckily I was met with grace and people were understanding and helped me out with my journey. But I also had those people who were like not with it and were very like harmful and wanting me to just correcting me when I would do something wrong and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think now being in it for, I mean, I've been vegan or I guess like plant-based. I kind of use both of them like
Yeah,
you
I
know
get it. I get it.
I'm just gonna say vegan because though I didn't start as like fully vegan, I think that it's been almost 7 years. So
Yeah.
now that I'm at this place, I understand that it's important to just give people grace and like be proud of people for saying, "Hey, Destiny, I had a vegan meal." Like, like it's
Yeah.
little things that like that really help me with like building community and being able to like help other people get to where I'm at now. You just have to be nice. And I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of times in the vegan space, like people are not so nice.
Yeah.
So just trying to lead by example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that's and this is like what worked for you and what resonates with you. And this is by no means like saying that this is the only way. Like there's so many ways to reach different people. And I have personally seen how you've been impacting, you know, people with, you traveled a lot and you meet new people and then, they're like, oh yeah, like I met Destiny and like now I am, incorporating more plants and leaving animals off my plate. And so, yeah, like, and your content is very representative of that. And so I guess that just that just goes to show that you are definitely having an impact, and you've like been very valuable in bringing that food justice element into the conversation. So how did that come to be your niche? I don't know. I've heard
Yeah.
multiple pronunciations of it, but let's go with that.
I know that's always like an interesting word.
Yeah.
But I think so before even looking into going plant-based, I was very involved in like other social justice movements. I did a lot of work around police brutality. I did a lot of work around education, even like environmental racism. Like I was dabbling in a bunch of other social justice worlds when I was living in New York. And so I've always had that like, bone in me where I'm just like, I
Yeah.
need to be with community fighting for something, whatever. And I think that when I went vegan, I started to learn more about like I knew about food insecurity and like food justice and stuff, but I think it just became a little bit more real for me because I was then living in I moved to Texas and I was like, wow, like it's so different from New York City where you could just like hop on a bus or a train and go get something to eat or like find a
Mhm.
supermarket that's more affordable. Whereas like in Texas, specifically Dallas, like you have to have a vehicle. And like if you don't have a
Right.
license or, like there were so
Yeah.
many things that were brought up. And I was like thinking about food access and food affordability as well. And these are just things I started talking about on my platform. I would say it was more like me complaining in the beginning
Yeah.
and just like doing rants and having conversations and things like that. But then it started turning into me being like, okay, well, how can I, little old me, like, what can I do? At least for this community, so then I started organizing with, other food justice related organizations out here. And it just kind of like kept building from that, but it really just took me thinking of I think that transition from New York City to Texas is like what really was like the spark
Yeah.
when it came to like my food justice, I guess, journey.
Yeah, and I will say on the record that I love Destiny rants, like just their story and your rants. It's like it's so fun, it's so entertaining, and yeah, I so
Sometimes I'm
I'm
like,
a
oh my
personal
gosh.
no, I'm a personal fan of the rants.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess, along your way, this is part of the Animal Activism Mentorship podcast. And you are in your own way mentoring a lot of people in their journey. So who have been mentors in your life who guided you? They don't necessarily have to be vegan or within the movement, just overall who kind of guided you or inspired you to do the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so there's thinking about like non-vegan people from a very kind of like early age. My first like real job out of college, I worked for a TV network and I had a boss who was like super like social justice and like I don't know, like very much in the community and like taught me a lot about I don't know, like I always used to call her like my woke boss, Like she just like knew things that I was never exposed to and like was
Right.
really, really patient with me with like the language that I had to unlearn and like just things that like stem from like my toxic family, sorry, of
Mhm.
just like beliefs that I had. And so like from that job on, I feel like she's been like a mentor and she doesn't even know this. So like it's a little weird to like talk about it, but like, I mean, maybe she does know, but I really feel like she introduced me to like just the world of like social justice and like what it means to be a community organizer and things like
Mhm.
that. So I would definitely say like my first boss outside of
Yeah.
the vegan space, but within the vegan movement, I don't know if there's like a specific person, but there are a lot of organizations that I look up to.
Hmm.
Obviously APEX is one of them. I really
Oh
love the
yeah.
work that they do.
Yep.
And everybody on the team is just like they all do their different things, and I'm just like so inspired by all the different stuff that they're involved in. I guess a specific person, the founder of Food Empowerment Project, Lauren,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
really yeah, like so when I first started getting into this food justice, I guess like world or like journey,
Hmm.
I watched a lot of like her interviews and like just learning about her story and why she started the Food Empowerment Project, which for anybody who doesn't know, like really focuses on food justice, but also ties in farm workers and environment. Like they touch on so many different things.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
social justice like
Workers'
realm.
rights and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are messages that a lot of times other vegan nonprofits are just like leaving out and they're not talking about. So yeah, I would say like Apex, the Food Empowerment Projects. I did a lot of work with Veggie Mijas,
Hmm.
which is another collective that's, women and non-binary people of color who are, doing work with food justice, Black Veg Society, AfroVegan Society, all of these like really dope collectives have all
Yeah.
inspired me to just like keep going and yeah, just spread the word about the importance of combating food insecurity.
Hmm. Absolutely. All of them are such great organizations and will definitely link to all of them in the show notes. But yeah, I think the Food Empowerment Project was a huge part of, like where you're actually seeing an organization bridging gaps and doing actionable things, to really bring that, okay, let's bring in animal exploitation and human exploitation and like in a way that it doesn't seem like you're co-opting one for the sake of the other. And it was actually like, and yeah, often calling out plant-based brands that aren't treating their workers right and like calling them out on that and getting some actionable change to happen. It's very important that we don't just let a company slide just because, they're making plant-based products. And I guess that also makes it challenging when you're at the grocery store too, because then it's like, okay, but then this company is owned by that company that does this, and it's just like, what do you do? And I think you do a good job of addressing that as well. It's like, look, we're all doing the best that we can. We don't live in a perfect world. We're trying to create that world, but then we need to have these conversations about, okay, like where are we drawing the line? Do we want to celebrate Oscar Mayer's plant-based hot dog where, they're a company that is also abusing animals, or do we want to show support for the plant-based option, or they also probably don't treat their workers right. So, it's just such it's a tricky space. And I recall when Hershey's launched their like the vegan or the plant-based Reese's cups, and that stirred a whole thing. It's like, yeah, but they use child labor for their chocolate, and as vegans we shouldn't support that. And it's like, but it's a plant-based option. So you're just hearing so much of that. And I guess that leads me to a question that just came up, is how do you deal with that? And this, again, by no means is Destiny's advice to people. It's just what Destiny does.
Yeah. So this is my thoughts.
Yes.
I think that I always talk about how there's like no ethical consumption under capitalism. You know, 9 times out of 10, these corporations are all trash. Like, they're doing something, whether they're exploiting animals, human, like it's, and there's only so much we can do. And I think that it gets tricky. And I always bring in like the conversation of privilege, because if I have one supermarket near me and they happen to have one type of vegan chocolate and it is the Hershey's chocolate, like I would rather that person be introduced to like, eating non-dairy chocolate and, getting rid of the animal byproducts and buy that Hershey's chocolate bar that's vegan. So it's hard. And it's obviously like, I think that people say like, put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. And if you have the funds and the privilege to be able to like choose, then I would say obviously don't buy the Hershey's chocolate bar. But for a lot of people, like it just kind of depends on like individual basis kind of thing, know? So yeah, because I always tell people, I'm like, you can't like, you're not going to be perfect. You're shopping. Your bill is always like, there's always going to be something wrong with one of these organizations or corporations. So yeah, it's a tricky question, Shreya.
I know. No, it just came up. I was like, what would Destiny like? And again, this is like, I'm just like, well, people go after each other for not saying the right thing. And here it's like, we don't know. We don't know. It depends. Like, how bad do you want the chocolate? And then it's like, then you guilt trip yourself into like, oh, like all of these horrible things happen and I'm letting it slide because I want chocolate. And it's a lot. Like, we have enough to stress over already that like every time we go to the grocery store, it's stressful. Like, it from what became an activity that I enjoy doing, because I love going to the grocery store and like, oh, what are the new plant-based products? And now I'm like, on the phone, it's like, what did this company do this time? And it's it's a fun time to be alive.
It's interesting because I feel like when you go through like your journey of like eating plant-based, like when I first went to the store, like I'm on my phone looking at like, is this vegan? Like, are these ingredients actually vegan? And now it's more so like, wait, like, can I support this? I don't know. It's just like you kind of like level up and stuff.
Yeah.
And think about more things. But like you said, like, majority of us already live stressful lives. So it's just like, dang, like what can I just have the damn chocolate?
Yeah,
You know, like
I
it's
know.
hard. It's hard.
It
It's
is.
hard, but yeah.
Yeah. And especially with your platform too, because like also listeners, like if you want to know how to find the best grocery deals, like Destiny somehow gets, yeah, like how she knows how to work the coupon system. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, like especially you, like you feature, you do grocery hauls, you're featuring products on your social media. So that's like then that just gets extrapolated to me like, oh, that you're endorsing this company that does this horrible stuff and we're gonna be fine. And then it's like it's so easy to get canceled. It's like it's just
I
a
know.
lot that we're having to navigate. And yeah, like you said, these are it could be worse. These are first world problems. Like
Mhm.
completely need to acknowledge that because hey, at least we have the luxury and the option to choose the means to get to places that, sell things that align with as much as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah. And so you have, we mentioned that you've traveled a lot and and for folks who don't know, you live in a tiny home, which is so cool. Like I love the adventures of following the tiny home and how it moved from, did you have it so you moved from New York to Dallas and then you were
Yeah.
in Vegas for a while?
Yeah. And then we got the house and moved this to Portland. So it's only been in
Hmm.
Portland and
Back to
Dallas. Technically
back to
we bought it from LA. So we got it shipped
hmm.
from LA um to Portland. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So do you feel like the tiny house has been part of your activism as well?
yeah, like I think that so I will say the reason why like I went tiny was more of like
Hmm.
a financial thing as opposed to
Yeah.
like me save the environment. But I think that like my vegan journey, it like
Hmm.
opens so many doors and I'm like, oh snap, like we are, using less water, less electricity, less, whatever. Like
Yeah.
um and so I think that, I buy less things because I don't have space for it. So like
Hmm.
and at the end of the day, like, yeah, I feel like I am a little bit more sustainable, like practicing more like sustainable, I'm sorry, like picking up on more
Yeah.
sustainable practices since being in a
Yeah.
tiny house, like overconsumption is not a thing really for me because I literally have nowhere to put these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it kind of goes hand in hand, yeah, it's just it honestly is kind of funny because I'm just like it's just I mark all the boxes. I'm like the queer, brown, house, vegan, lives in Portland. Like it's just like
Yeah.
so
I
stereotypical. Like,
know. It's
I don't
like,
know, it's funny.
yeah, it's like you couldn't craft a more perfect caricature. Um, I don't like the typical like liberal like doing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
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 Um, and so I guess like both are actually very good examples to show that once you're already not participating in something, it's easier to be on board to, like to actually like dive deeper into it. Like for example, once you're already not eating animals and their products for whatever reason, be it health or environment, you're more open to listening to the animal ethics side of things because you're not proactively participating in it.
Right.
And I think that does get people to perhaps get more active or show up in different capacities. So, do you feel like that may have held true to you as well? Were you aware of okay the animal issue, but we're quick to kind of suppress that because you just want that sandwich. But you're open to it, then you're willing to receive that. Like, do you think that holds true for you as well?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Like even thinking about my journey, when I first went vegan, it was I would say when I first went plant-based, it was mainly just for food and health. And yeah, the environment cool, but it wasn't until I started working at Sentient Media,
Mhm.
um, so when I started learning more about like the animal liberation space,
Yeah.
because almost like you said, like I like how you use like you kind of like suppress it, because in the beginning I was almost ashamed to say like I was vegan because I felt people thought of us as like, I don't know, these crazy like animal lover, like I don't know, like it just had
Yeah.
like a bad reputation. And so I was never really talking about or like vocalizing anything about animals, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
ironic
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, I'm vegan, but I don't even talk about animals, like it
Yeah.
just made no sense to me. And then that's honestly where I learned the difference between like plant-based and being vegan.
Yeah.
And so when I started working for Sentient Media, which is if anybody doesn't know, it's like an online news organization that focuses on factory farming and like
Hmm.
animal liberation and things like that. So that's when I really like learned a lot about factory farming. And I was just like, wow, like this, obviously I knew about these things, but I
Right.
became more passionate about it. And like you said, I
Mhm.
became more open to having these conversations, to listening to
Yeah.
podcasts about them or
Yeah.
watching documentaries about,
Hmm.
animal liberation and things like that. And so yeah, it was just one of those doors that like opened, but just a little bit later on my
Yeah.
journey.
Absolutely. And so how has this entire experience crafted your career, like the work that you're doing now? Because I know that you've done a lot of different things. So, how have you been able to use your skills and your potential and your education to create the career that you have for yourself?
Yeah, so I have my background, like my degrees in journalism and communications. And honestly, I was just working for like a news organization. It was, I don't know, it was nice. It was cool. We focused on like social justice issues and things like that. But after that, I wasn't really using my degree. Like I was doing social media for businesses and like nonprofits and stuff. But when I went vegan, I started obviously like getting in contact with more vegan restaurants and vegan business owners and chefs and just like vegan entrepreneurs. And that opened, a different door for me. And I started doing social media and like the marketing for vegan restaurants. So like I was
Mhm.
doing the social media for the Land of Kush, which is like the
Oh,
first.
yeah.
Yeah, like they're really cool. The first like black owned vegan business in Baltimore that
Baltimore, yeah.
sells like, vegan comfort food, soul food. So I worked with them for a really long time doing their social media and like
Have you
um
been there
oh yeah, for
to,
sure.
oh, I need to make a trip to Baltimore just to try it because I've heard so many
Yeah.
great things.
Their mac and cheese and their like kale salad. Oh my God. Like honestly, I would if I could just book a flight to go get that.
Let's do it.
I
Let's do it.
know. Yeah. But yeah, so I started working with them and then that kind of like opened other doors into so shout out to Naja. She's the one that owns the Land of Kush for her husband.
Mhm.
And so she introduced me to a bunch of people like within the vegan movement. So I started working with Black Veg Society. I was also doing work with, Veggie Mijas, and it started turning into more of not only doing social media, but kind of doing like just other types of marketing, hosting events, things like that with other vegan entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Eventually I started working full time with Sentient Media, and that I would say was like one of my first like full-time vegan jobs.
Yeah.
Like they were flying me to the vegan conferences and I spoke at the conference and I was like, wow, I'm really like in this vegan movement now. Like
Hmm.
I
Yep.
would have never thought like, years ago, first of all, that I would be vegan because I
Yeah.
was very much one of those people that are like, oh, never, like I would never do that.
Yeah.
But let alone like work within the space. So it kind of like happened like gradually, I like stepped my foot in it and then I was like, oh,
Mhm.
building so many different connections kind of got me like that full-time job.
Yeah.
And now I kind of just do it on the side. I have like a regular 9 to 5 now. It's not super fulfilling, but I find
It
it,
pays the bills.
right.
Yeah.
But I'm still very much involved in like the movement, hosting events out here in Dallas for vegans.
Yeah.
I'm still doing social media with some vegan like entrepreneurs and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun. Honestly, I'm like so happy that I was open to this because it has made making money fun because I'm like, I actually
Yeah.
love I actually love what I do, like I'm genuinely
Yeah.
enjoying this. So yeah.
Yeah. That's really great to hear because oftentimes I feel like the things that I end up enjoying doing, like writing about vegan entrepreneurs and restaurants. I'm like, I'm doing all of this for free because this is making me feel good. So I'm like, I need to start putting money on that.
Yeah, might as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, might as well. Um, so what is your favorite form of activism that you've uh been a part of?
I would say I used to very much be like a frontliner, like at the protests, like doing the thing, putting my body at risk for like the
Right.
movement or whatever, you know. And I think that was like younger Destiny that just kind of was like, not that I didn't care, but less responsibilities and whatever. So
Yeah.
that used to be me. But I also was very, open to like digital activism. And I feel like that's what I'm doing now, like I can create space for people and do things in person, but I feel like my activism is more online now. And
Hmm.
just like kind of educating people that way. And I feel like it's
Yeah.
even, I don't want to say more powerful, but it's pretty powerful because you can reach even more people, as
Yeah.
opposed to like just being at one protest in your local city. So,
Yeah.
which there's nothing wrong with that. Like I do
Yes.
that. But I think that, being able to like share educational content online or like have conversations with strangers about X, Y, and Z, that's something that I really enjoy. And I feel like that's what I'm more involved in right now.
Yeah. And you can tell, like, just the way you show up, like, it is like you clearly do enjoy it. And do you have any tips for folks who are excited about social media but are not feeling that, like, either they have the skills to create engaging content, or they're like, like, I'm not getting the likes or the views, or like, is that something that you ever think about, or how do you overcome um those concerns, or do you just like, I don't care, I'm just going to put it out there, engage if you want to?
Yeah, that's kind of my attitude because I feel like in the beginning I was like, oh my God, like my page is not growing, blah, blah, blah. But I think that now, I mean, I've been stuck at the same amount of followers for like years at this point. And I'm just like, whatever. Like, but it's like the DMs, honestly, is like where it all goes down for me. Like I have so
Yeah.
many, I call them like, I don't know, my friends, like my Instagram
Yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
that reach out and are like legit, you would think that we've known each other for years, like in person, have like gone out to eat together. Like I don't know these people in person, but like I feel like they're family members, So I think that for other people who are wanting to get into like social media or like find community on social media, I would say like don't be shy to DM people. Like I think in the beginning I was like, oh, they have so many followers. They're not going to check their DM and like message me, but you'll be
Yeah.
surprised. Like we're just
Yeah.
people, like it's just
Yeah.
a person. And if they don't respond, then I don't know, like
Yeah. Whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, um, but yeah, it's just like I think that reaching out to people through social media is really powerful. I've been able to like help a lot of people on their vegan journey, and like people send me their dinner photos and like, oh, I went to this vegan festival or like just different things. And I'm like, good for you. Like, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Like it's really nice to have that support system. So definitely would recommend like messaging other people. And then that's how you're able to like build community and do collaborative posts together, host like cooking demos together. And you could like really build your following that way as well. But for me, I think that I don't even think about following anymore because I'm just
Yeah.
like, obviously it doesn't matter because I've been able to build so many really great relationships
Yeah.
through social media and I don't have like this huge ass following like most people
Hmm.
do. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of went on a rant, but I'm just like
No, I love this rant.
DM people, like
See,
make
this is, yeah.
friends.
Yeah. So was that the intention? What was the intention behind starting Eat Your Destiny and like guiding people through their journey? Was like, because I imagine that that was the goal, was to build following and help people. And so at what point do you start like just focusing on, I'm just going to put the material out, versus like no one's liking it, no one's brief sharing it, like, and like at what point did that switch happen? And I guess the DMs are, I'm sure, far more rewarding because you're actually engaging with people who have been impacted by the material that you're putting out.
Yeah. I would say so like I actually started my page as a like food journal. Like I was just
Yeah.
learning how to cook plant-based meals. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I was like, I'm going to share this. And I might look silly, but somebody will correct me or somebody will give me tips. So it really was just like a way for me to share my journey. And, like honestly, if you scroll like all the way down, like there's pictures of like white rice and broccoli. And like that was like my meal. And I'm like, yeah, I'm vegan. Like, like so it's cool because it's like I have grown so much. Like,
Oh yeah.
from that, just like mentally, like being able to know what is healthy for me, like that white rice and broccoli is cool, but you can't be eating that 5 days out of the week,
Oh
So
yeah.
my intention was just kind of share those like moments of like, hey, like I don't know what I'm doing. This meal was good. I need tips, kind of things like that. And it eventually grew into me sharing about like shopping tips and how to like
Yeah.
eat, I guess, like vegan on a budget and doing things like that. I started hosting cooking demos. I feel like my page has just grown with whatever I like to do at the moment. Like
Yeah.
right now, I'm like into yoga and like going to wellness events and finding vegan options at like different places. And that's what I'm sharing now. Like
Yeah.
5 years ago, it was more so like, okay, budget shopping, like here's my breakdown of my meal plan. So it's been
Yeah.
kind of all over the place, but I just try to be myself and I don't want to like put myself in a box and
Yeah.
people know they can come to me for like certain things, but I don't want to like limit myself to just
Absolutely.
one grocery hauls or things like that.
Yeah. I love that. And I really resonate with that too, because sometimes, when I take a step back and be like, what am I qualified to do? There are so many moments where I'm like, nothing, because I feel like I'm just doing different things and I don't have like full expertise or like on just one thing. And then like trying to view that as that's actually a benefit because you have a lot of these experiences and but it's yeah, it's like, am I just half-assing so many like multiple different things, or am I like just, or is it better to do just one thing like perfectly? And I don't know, it's like a lot of different things excite you and bring you joy. And yeah, like you said, I personally don't want to be put in a box either, which is why I'm like, I'm doing with my life right now.
I feel the same way. It's like
Yeah.
the same thing. I'm just like, oh, like I just post, it just feels almost random to me. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
why my page hasn't been able to like grow because people just never know, like, okay, what the hell is this thing gonna post today? Like it's
Yeah.
like I don't have like a consistent thing or
Right,
like
right.
one thing, like you said, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's beauty in that, like you said,
Yeah.
where we can do a bunch of things and be great at everything.
Absolutely. I know. Yeah. And just like there we have this one life, just enjoy it, do, and like not worry so much about like again, now we're just being dictated by the algorithms and to keep our
Mhm.
sanity, which is oof, we're seeing a rise in social media or media in general playing a very important role in activism. And so in various forms of activism, and we're seeing that very prevalent. And I think finding creative ways to to use that and finding your people and community, that is also very valuable. And I personally enjoy seeing your process, and you can see the growth and and by growth it's just like you can see how things change based on what's inspiring you in that moment.
Liver.
um and with that, like what voids in the plant-based or vegan space do you hope to fill with the work and the content that you're putting out? Like, what do you think is missing and what do you think it is that you're offering?
I think that there's a lot of judgment that comes from the vegan community. I instead of embracing and just being happy for people for going plant-based or for, trying to get into the vegan movement, yeah, like there's just a lack of like empathy. And I think that with my content, I just try to show people that like you can be a regular, cool person and be vegan. Like I talk about
Yeah.
this time. I just want to be like that vegan friend that you can invite to anything. Like I don't need people to be like, oh, but there's no vegan options. I'm gonna make it work. It's fine. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
it's my choice to be this
Yes.
way. And I don't expect every single person in my life to be vegan at this very moment. And so I just like to show people that like I'm just a real regular person. Like I can go
Yeah.
out to the movies, I can go to the park, I can go to the bar. And
Yeah.
I think another thing that when it comes to like judgment, when it comes to like the vegan space, there's a lot of like judgment around like alcohol and like the night
Oh, yeah.
scene. And it's just, I don't know. I like to show people like I can drink vegan wine, I can
Yeah.
have vegan beer, I can, go to a concert and be eating French fries. Like it's just,
Yeah.
like there's things like that I just try to show that like I'm just a human. Like I'm just out here,
Yeah.
but I'm still making these choices to be a better human and care
Hmm.
about other sentient beings. So
Yeah.
I don't know if like I have like a deep message, but I feel like the void that I'm trying to fill is like the fact that we don't all look the same. Like we're not all green juice drinking yogis. I can't be that. Every Sunday
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm also like, I want to go turn up too. And I happen to be
Yeah.
vegan. So I don't know. Like, I feel like maybe that's like a weird answer, but I just feel like we don't see many people, I guess, like me that are like actually showing their everyday lives like as a
Yeah.
vegan. And I
Yeah.
think I went through like a phase, speaking of all the different content that I've done, like, I was showing like, hey, like I'm at this baseball game, I found a vegan hot dog here, or like I'm at this concert and I was able to be vegan this way, like just showing people that you can do normal things and
Yeah.
like still be eating a plant-based diet and still care about animals.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense, but yeah.
No, that totally does because like when you think about it, that a lot of content you see is either, in the activism side of things, which is really, I mean, I feel like everything that we are doing in some way or another can be a form of activism, but you know what the status quo is, and like talking about social justice, very important. And then you see plant-based recipe developers who are like, or they do what I eat in a day stuff. And yeah, so they're like, it's very rare to just be like, hey, I'm going to a bar or I'm going to the club, I'm going to a concert, and I am a person who cares about animal liberation and social justice and food accessibility and all of the issues going on in the world. So it's like, yeah, you can be a multifaceted person who cares.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like I wish I just want to see more of that. Like I want to
Yeah.
see vegans in the wild doing our
Yes,
everyday our everyday
exactly. That's
thing.
that's gonna be the new concept. We're out in the wild. So speaking of all of the work that you're doing, you don't stop because you have this exciting new program called Texas Eats Green. So tell us all about the program. What are the goals? What inspired it? All of the details.
Yes. So Texas Eats Green is a new initiative that I pitched, I think, last year, and I got some funding through a couple grants. So super grateful for that. But the inspiration behind that is came from, me growing up in a neighborhood where I didn't have access to healthy options. I always say that, like, for breakfast, I went to the bodega and I had my bacon, egg, and cheese. For lunch, I was eating pizza with like, cheese on it.
Yeah.
For dinner, I was eating Chinese food. Like there were not many options. Like I had the chicken spot on my block and like I was very limited. And I realized that, now eating a plant-based diet, I realized how important and like life-changing it would have been if I had healthier options within my community. Um, Especially like from a health aspect. And so Texas Eats Green came about from me kind of going back into my experience, but also thinking about just food deserts and talking about food apartheid with a bunch of people and like just getting into the food justice world. Out here in Texas and any state in the United States, we all have our pockets of neighborhoods, specifically Black and Brown folks, marginalized people who do not have access to fresh and healthy food. And so
Mhm.
the goal with Texas Eats Green is to work within restaurants and businesses that sell food in these communities and educate them on the importance of incorporating a plant-based option and be able to give our community at least the option to have a healthier meal.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we're working in Dallas and San Antonio right now, and it's been really cool. Honestly, it's been a little bit hard to get started just because, restaurants are busy and they don't
Yeah.
have the time sometimes to think of a new option when they're trying to survive. And
Yeah.
so we've just been patient and continuing with outreach to get, more restaurants signed up. Right now we have two restaurants that are ready to go and have added options
Amazing.
and stuff. So yeah, it's really nice to be able to get into the community and educate people on like these new restaurants that, not new restaurants, but restaurants that are now like having vegan options. And yeah, so I'm really excited about it. We're going to be doing it like throughout the fall as well. So I guess if you're local to Texas or Dallas and San Antonio, we should definitely connect, come out to one of our
Yes.
events. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll leave all the handles and the information and like the folks listening there, if you know of any restaurants that could benefit, because this is a free service that
Yes.
you're offering, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, so it is free for the restaurant and it's, they don't need to work on anything, they're getting all these resources to help offer healthy plant-based meals that are also affordable. And like you said, like give them the option, at least have the option to choose it. And with that comes education and yeah, and I think it's such an important initiative that like again, it kind of comes full circle because like Texas is where you made that connection. And then now like you're back in Texas doing this work. And
Yeah.
how can folks get involved if they want to participate? Are you looking for volunteers?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely follow us on Instagram. It's at Texas Eats Green. And then our website is texaseatsgreen.com. We have an area where you can contact us and it'll like send us an email. But we are looking for somebody to help with social media on a volunteer base, just to like help create content, about the movement, about the projects, about restaurants as well.
Yeah,
So definitely reach out about that. And then I'm always looking for media opportunities just to talk more about the
yeah,
project. We have three other women of color who are involved in the project, and they, would be more than happy to like jump on a podcast or write
yeah,
something, or so just thinking of different ways to get the word out, especially in Texas. So I guess those are like the two
yeah.
calls to action.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and if anyone has media contacts, like definitely pitch this program, especially if you're in Texas. I think that would be very important to get the word out. And there's so much potential there too. Like I was personally mind blown by how vegan friendly Dallas was. And I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't been to very many places outside in Texas, but yeah, it is very, but you can see the very, it's such an obvious change based on which neighborhood, because yeah,
Mhm.
Dallas is humongous, and which suburb you're in, and the access to good plant-based options is an issue that you can observe as you drive across
Yeah.
the city. So yeah. And so the restaurants that you choose that you would like to work with, like what would an ideal restaurant be? And I'm assuming not large chains, but more BIPOC owned small mom and pop shops in these particular neighborhoods, or could it also be in like affluent neighborhoods as well?
Yeah, I think the goal in the beginning was to focus specifically on like BIPOC communities. The restaurants don't have to necessarily be BIPOC owned.
Hmm.
But the goal is to actually work within our communities to just make sure that there are more options. I think right now, as we're growing the project, we're open to all restaurants. Obviously not like
Yeah,
chain restaurants like,
right.
like a Pluckers or like Applebee's. Like we're gonna let
Yeah,
the bigger organizations handle
yeah, deal with
that.
that.
We're working more with like family-owned businesses,
Mhm.
or there's a lot of people that have food trucks or like do pop-ups and things like that. So have been reaching out to different foodies in that aspect. So yeah, definitely if you know somebody that has like even like a cupcake business, like
Yeah,
somebody who might be working from like a commercial kitchen and doesn't have, or like a ghost kitchen and doesn't have like a actual restaurants, like we're totally down to work with them. We give them the resources to help them create their menu. We help with marketing. We will send like a social media influencer to their business so that they can get free marketing essentially.
yeah.
put on our website, obviously, with I'm gonna just like manifest that we get more funding because with more funding, we'll be able to do things like getting decals to put on like the doors of these restaurants so that people know they have like plant-based options.
Okay.
And yeah, so at the end of the day, these restaurants will be serving a healthier option, but they also can open up their clientele because once you have a
Yeah.
vegan option, like I'm gonna go to a restaurant
Yeah.
that has a vegan option.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just really like educating them on like all those different aspects of the importance of incorporating a plant-based option.
Yeah, and I think like this goes back to the hospitality consulting training I did, which we were like during the training, it's what we call the veto vote. And we had interviewed Meredith, who's the founder and CEO of Vegan Hospitality. And I know that one of the restaurant outreach coordinators is also in that program. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the veto vote essentially like if you are going out with a group of people, and they want the vegan to have a good option, like the vegan, sometimes they get to choose, like, that where you're going to go eat. And now you're losing out on business from an entire group of people because one person would have had to nibble on a side of fries. So, yeah, it is a valuable resource that you're offering and also really touching on the health element and like really making it easy for these small family owned businesses because they don't have these larger resources that Popeyes and KFC or whomever have to just deal with this. Like it takes a lot. So definitely a void to be filled and we'll manifest that funding coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I know you already touched on this a while ago when we were talking about what you wanted to fill, like what void you wanted to fill with the work that you're doing. But just to supplement that, what do you think the current animal rights vegan movement could improve on to make the space more accessible to people who just, like you said, just want to be a regular person and not be viewed in a certain way? And I say it because I was also, when I went vegan, like I would preface, like I'm vegan, but I'm not like that kind of vegan, just because, people would understand what that meant. I was more like quiet, minding my own business. Now I'm like, you give me a megaphone and I'm very happy with my megaphone. But yeah, like, but at the same time, I'm not like, I love going out to get some good cocktails and like I like going out dancing. I like to go to the library and just get a book. And so it's like I am all of these things. And so like what do you think the movement could do to make that or improve on?
Yeah, I would say, and this might sound like contradicting because I feel like vegans are open-minded because we, obviously saw the importance
Yeah.
of like not eating animals.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's still like a lot of closed-minded people within the
Yeah.
vegan space. So I would say like, working on that and like having people actually sit down and listen to each other because I feel like a lot of times like I've gone to like vegan conferences and it's just like we're preaching to the choir. We all
Yeah.
know why we should be
Yeah.
vegan. We all know, so it's like, but I think that what we don't do is like create safe spaces for us from all different walks of life to come together and talk about our journeys. I think
Yeah.
that once you find your people, you kind of just stick with them and you're constantly surrounded by whatever, resonates with you, as opposed to like just getting to know other people and like why they went vegan, how they went vegan, what their struggles were. I feel like really sitting down and listening to each other could open up the minds of a lot of vegans in the space. And return, make people feel welcome or even, have the desire to join the movement and join the community and take on this journey. So yeah, I want people to like listen to each other and just have an open mind when it comes to things, and it's okay to have disagreements, but it's not okay to like, alienate people, So I think that that's something that I would hope to see and I hope that the vegan movement can just get it together.
Yeah,
I'm
we
like, come
all
on,
got to get it together. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I like what you said about, I mean, we are open-minded because we're willing to look at what a lot of other people are not willing to see. So we're open-minded, but then we become closed-minded, or it becomes a single issue thing. It's like, this is the only thing that matters. And then the messaging, it gets to a point. Sometimes I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, that sometimes I feel like care for other movements starts to get co-opted just to get like one message across. And I don't want to dilute the suffering of all of these animals, but I also don't want to co-opt the harm that's being done to communities that are living near these, these industrial operations and or co-ops union efforts within an organization, or like, it's like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't support like this business because the slaughterhouse uses child labor. And it's like, the issue, slaughter is wrong, but the focus becomes about, oh, this is why you shouldn't eat animals, because it's just such a tricky way, like, to get the messaging across in a way that you're not ignoring the child labor element of it is important. And I think that often gets lost because the hook of like, oh my God, this slaughter business did something wrong. And so we're going to focus on that as opposed to what the wrong was, if that ever makes sense.
Yeah. No, I'm following. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it takes a bit to like get that across. And I'm grateful to see, like I said, organizations like APEX and a lot of activists who, we've also grown to become good friends, are bringing these issues and addressing them in a way that doesn't take away from the animals, and doing so in a way that like, we want to also come across, like, be people of integrity.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. So yeah, that was my rant for the day.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So before I let you go, you've been so gracious with your time. I usually like to end with a question that is, what does a vegan world look like to you? Like, what do you envision that to be? How would we be living? What would be going on? What's going to be in the news? Like, what are we going to be complaining about?
Interesting.
We'll all be out of jobs because we have nothing to fight for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think of it that way. When I think of like what a vegan world looks like, I just automatically think about people. Can I curse?
Oh yeah, go for it. I don't care.
Like, I just think of people giving a shit about other people, about the planet, about animals, about like nature. Like, I just feel like people actually caring and not just saying they do, like actively taking care of our land, actively being there for each other. It's just, I think we grow up with people like, oh my God, I love my earring just fell off. All right, let's do it again.
No, you're good.
I got too passionate.
Yes, I love it.
A lot of times, like when I would grow up, I would hear people say like, "Oh my God, I love animals," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, me too." But like, you actually eat animals, So it's like people. I want people to, and I'm not judging because I obviously came from that as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think a vegan world for me is people saying that they love animals and actually respect animals and don't eat them. And
they're two very different things. Like, you can love someone and be in an abusive situation, and that's not respect. That's what it's like. And I really have high regard for people who, they're like, I'm not an animal lover. I'm not even an animal person, but I think slaughtering them is wrong, so I don't eat them. Like, they're just like that. Those people I believe more than, like, those are the vegans who are like, yeah, I think this is an injustice and I don't want to participate in it. That doesn't mean I want to cuddle a cow or a dog. Like, they're existing, minding their own business, and I'm here minding my own. And I think
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love those are honestly, I feel like those are like the best people too. Like they
Yeah.
just
Oh
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm just a good person. Like I don't need to be
Yeah.
hugging a cow. I want to
Yeah.
hug a cow. I don't know
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I love, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, to kind of wrap that up, like a vegan world to me is just people caring, like genuinely
Yeah.
caring, taking care of each other, taking care of the environment, the animals
Yeah.
and that. And yeah, like I just feel like what would a world look like without having to fight for something? I don't know because we've never
Yeah. I know
we've
we've
never
never lived in
a
that
world like
world. I remember having that conversation with someone at one of the AVA summits.
mm,
And we were just like, we'd all be unemployed. And we're like, you know what? Yeah, I'd be curious. Like, what would we be doing? And I'm sure like we'd still have to be around to like ensure their protections. But it's like,
cool.
okay, now everybody has access to healthy, nourishing, affordable food, all the animals. Like, but it's like, where are the cows going to be living with us in the middle of New York City? Or are they still going to
Right.
like, what is coexistence going to look like? But
Yeah.
now I think my new question is going to be, if all of these problems are solved, what would you be doing? But I guess that would also be a problem that's solved, that we would all just get an affordable quality of life without having to
He's doing something like
doing a
working.
gazillion different things just to, make ends meet. And
Yeah.
I mean, Eras tour tickets are expensive. Like,
I know. Yeah, we're out here hustling, y'all.
yeah,
Hustling, but
yeah,
still being kind to the environment and the animals and people. Like,
exactly.
see?
Exactly. Yeah, that's hard to do because
Uh-huh.
yeah, that requires some vegan wine for another another day.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add that I didn't touch on and that you would like to add to the conversation?
I don't think so. I think, yeah, you did a really good job at like, I don't
Oh my,
know.
I mean,
You know,
you did all the work. I just asked the questions and you just have such a fun way of talking about your
I would say
journey.
Scotty would say hi, but
Hi.
he's like, nah, I'm gonna face the wall.
No, we're looking at her precious companion doggo who is showing his butt to the camera. He's like, nope, don't want any of this. Little
Listen, he worked a
Scotty.
double last night, I guess, because he's exhausted today.
Yeah. I know. And like, if you are also looking for fun Scotty content, definitely follow Destiny. We'll be sure to include all of the info in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. You're doing such important work, and I'm just really glad that I connected with you on social media, and now you're like one of my good friends, and that's always fun when these connections come to fruition. And yeah, we can support each other and all the good things that we're trying to do while keeping ourselves sane.
Yes. I love that last part. No,
Yes.
yeah, that's really cool. I'm like really grateful that you all wanted to have me on this
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah, this was really fun. I like, these are questions that I don't really think about on a regular day. So it's always nice to like talk about it and kind of reflect on
Yeah.
my journey, but also like what, how we can just work together and help community and things like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely appreciate this. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you take care and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please take a quick minute to rate and review the podcast. It helps others find it more easily, and the more people that find it, the more people can be inspired by the guests we have on our show and turn that into actionable change for the animals. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Our channel has educational workshops, talks, and so much inspiring and informative content that you do not want to miss out on. At AAM, it's important to us to offer our content and resources for free so that it is accessible to everybody. If you like the podcast and all that AAM has to offer and are able to support us, please consider a one-time donation or becoming a monthly patron. It helps keep us going. To make a donation, you can use our Linktree, which you can find in our show notes. You can also keep up with AAM on social media, visit our bookshop, our merch store, and keep up with all the fun things that we have going on. one more reminder that you can sign up for a free mentor to help and guide you through your activism journey. Just go to our website, animalactivismmentorship.com. So if you needed a sign that you should be an activist for the animals, here you go. Now remember that it will take all of us to come together and collaborate to achieve animal liberation. So stay focused, be courageous, be perseverant, and keep doing your part. And most importantly, take care of yourselves. Until next time.